The gentleman who's going to be emceeing tonight, former coach at Washington State, University of Iowa, and USC, who fought through a terrible accident, is now the president of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. He'll be introducing our Nike Hall of Fame panel that has 3 Basketball Hall of Fame members on it. I'd like the coach to come out. Coach George Raveling. Coach.
Thank you. If you're wondering why I'm dressed in a suit and tie, it's because my mother did a good job of raising me. I would suspect that somewhere out there in the great vista of human existence, my mother is somewhere. And I think she'd be gravely disappointed if she thought that her child had an opportunity like this and he showed up and was not dressed appropriately. If I were going to go to a luncheon, a breakfast, or a dinner, and there were 5 ex-United States presidents there, I wouldn't show up in shorts or jeans. I would dress in a manner that would denote to them that I respect them. And in the world of basketball, I construe these individuals as being at the presidential level. And so thus I decided out of respect for them that I would dress appropriately and wear a shirt and tie. Despite the fact that our apparel norms and standards in America have been relaxed, I'm not going to relax my respect for these individuals. And so I'd like for you to join with me in bringing out the giants of college basketball. And what I think is interesting about them is they all travel a different road mentally and physically to achieve success. None of them played the same style of basketball. They all had a different philosophy. Some are funny, some are serious. But nevertheless, they all are winners. And I'd like to introduce them to you. The first person is one of the most intriguing individuals that I've ever met in coaching. I can remember many years ago, we both spoke at a clinic in New Rochelle, New York, and he started off the clinic by saying, some things I say will be true and some things I say will be false, and it's up to you to figure out which is which. And that could only be Al McGuire. The next person just previously addressed you, certainly as innovative a thinker that the game of college basketball has ever seen. I think that he has caused more people to see and understand the game of basketball in broader perspectives, and that's Dean Smith.
Dressed differently than he is.
But he's got more money than I do. Most wealthy people are poor dressers. Most poor people try to look impressive. The next guy, to tell you how old he is, he coached my roommate in college. He coached him in high school. At that time, it was called St. Anne's Academy. And actually, one of the great players at Carolina, Tommy Kearns, played with my roommate in college and high school. And he went on to a great, great career at St. John's. He's one of the sincerely wonderful people that this game has produced, and one of its most successful coaches, Louie Carnesecca.
From here, you're ahead of
Couple
you.
of years ahead of me.
And as you can see, Lou has a sweater on tonight, but it's not really, I don't know what the brothers would say about that, Lou.
The priest
They would
like it.
probably, yeah, as Al said, the priests like it, the brothers wouldn't be too impressed.
Don't start on me now.
The next guy, when I first got into coaching, I think I fell into the trap of liking to be around him because he's such a humorous individual. But as the years preceded themselves, I began to realize that behind his humor, there was a powerful message. And I became upset at myself because I was missing a lot of the messages early on. I got too caught up in the funny things that he said and didn't realize that he was really teaching a lesson through his humorous stories. But not only was he able to teach life's lessons in a humorous manner, but he was also able to produce a wealth of winning basketball teams. And I think I'm correct in this, that he's the only coach in the history of college basketball who coached on the same team, the #1 and #2 scorers in the nation. And he did that when he was at Oklahoma City, and that's Abe Lemons. And Lou said he thinks Abe's been on a Jenny Craig diet. And the last guy has won at every level he's ever coached at. He's won national championships. He's going to go back and try to win an additional national championship or two. I can remember when he was at Long Beach State, calling him and asking him if he would go over his 1-2-2 zone that he played. Back at Long Beach State, he was a great zone coach. And, of course, today he's equally known for his man-to-man defense and his outstanding and tenacious basketball teams, Joey Tarkanian.
Tark said he had to go to the toilet. He couldn't find one.
And one more time, can we have a broad hand for all these wonderful coaches? We have some written questions, and we're going to try to create some dialogue. If necessary, I'll come down through the audience, and you can offer additional questions by way of the microphone. But we would like questions and not testimonials. I think maybe a good way to start it off is we'll ask the panel to give us probably a 60-second overview on what they see as the state of college basketball today. And we'll start here with Al McGuire, and we'll let him pass the mic down. Oh, they have mics on? They have mics on? Okay.
I have a mic on?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me? I work with more dead mics than Irish Undertaker. College basketball is on the top of a Technicolor tidal wave or a Technicolor avalanche. It's there. The only thing that's needed, in my opinion, is the court to be wider, but that will take at least 25 years. Outside of that, the Rules Committee should meet every third year, and that, because they make changes. College basketball doesn't need to be fixed, it's not broken, it needs to be improved. I think that the last rush towards taking the pros, taking the college kids out is this year through the fear of the rookie cap. and they're probably going to get their rookie cap somewhere around June. I think the NCAA does a magnificent job. I think that they should go one more weekend and knock out the postseason conference tournament, and then start in 32 sites, 8 teams to a site. That's 256 teams, and we got the whole country involved. I can see Dean's upset with that statement.
I got an itch.
And so that's my view of college basketball. I've been gone longer than anyone here. I've been gone for 19 years. And it just seems like yesterday the last game that I coached was in 1977. So
I remember.
Dean remembers. It was against each other in the finals in the Omni in Atlanta in 77.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yeah, you had 3 guys down with injury then, Dean.
Quickly, just to lead in, I listened to what he said, but I wasn't disagreeing. But in a way, we already have everyone really has a chance for the national championship because of the tournaments. As long as every conference continues to have one, that means everyone can throw it up. I know Notre Dame didn't. Who else was an independent last year?
Only about 4.
There's only about 4 or 5 teams that really didn't have a chance. But basically, college basketball is, as Al said, is all-time high in interest. In the late 70s, when Chicago was drawing 6,000 for their pro game, college basketball was way here. I think it's great that there's more interest in pro, except maybe at our place when, remember Stewart in Arkansas shot a 60-footer right before half. Our place, they wondered if we didn't put enough defensive pressure on him. And Kentucky area, Indiana area, but I think that's wholesome in that we are colleges, they are student athletes, and I think the game's going great, except too many hard fouls, airborne. The refs on TV, I'll get on it. Rafferty's worse. Billy says nickel a dimer. But what happens is the team that fouls the most is better off because most officials don't want to have it replayed. If you don't call anything, it's never on replay. So it's not a bad idea. And then later on we may get to it, but I think college basketball has done a great service to see kids from all backgrounds come together. And I love to go to my players' weddings and to see their teammates and some rich, some poor, all together. It's something special. And I think like you have something special, you coaches working with the teams. We're lucky to have worked with all these teams.
I've been asked 1,000 times since I stopped coaching, what's the basic difference between professional and collegiate ball? If you ask my wife, she'd say $500,000. And there is some truth into that. And I have to agree with Al, because when the court was first started, the guys were all 5'2", had mustaches, right? And they weren't that big. But today the guys are 7'4", 7'5", 7'6", and that court hasn't changed. It's still the same width. And that's why I think maybe if we enlarge it, it might be a little better. The next thing, coaching change, definitely. You people are definitely much more sophisticated. You have to know many more things on offense and defense. You probably have to take a lot more courses in psychology to handle all the various young men and women that we have. So you really are much more knowledgeable. I don't know if we're as thorough, but you definitely have to know more. And also, there's also much more pressure on you than when we first started coaching.
True.
So,
Well, the thing that I've noticed is the three-point play. It's always been there, just counted 2 before. And you'd be surprised how many guys have shooters and didn't know about it. They used to ask me where you get all those shooters. I said, hell, let them shoot. That's where you get them. But most people had to throw the pivot and reverse off of it, do all that kind of stuff. I think the thing I've enjoyed most is going around and seeing people practice. And during the season, I saw Al. We walked in the gym at Marquette, Butch Lee was laying at the free throw line with his leg across the ball, bent down. Al said, "What time we practice?" I said, "I thought you was a coach and you'd know." But Al said, "I'm going down to the office. Come get me when practice starts." Had a guy named Walton. He's standing out there, and Al said, "Get off. We got a substitute." He said, "I'm not getting off." Al said, "Just don't get in anybody's way." Now, once you're able to solve that problem, you're in a point of advancing in coaching. It's not, he got him to do what he wanted him to do off the court. It just took him a little bit of time to do that. But every coach has their own way, own reason, and I've enjoyed doing that. They say on television, hell, I hate the game. I don't really particularly like it. Didn't like the people I was dealing with. Hate referees. I'm one win away from 600. I've thought about there have been 100 ways that I could have done that, but some guys cut me off at the pass. I've had coaches call me and want me to coach a game to get 600. I said, hell, I don't need another loss. I need another win. I'm kind of like the guy that plays in the band. Everybody can't lead it. I'm a cymbal player in the back. They just get to hit that thing one time. Everybody else has got something to do. They got the first chair and the flute and all the coaches. And your job is to keep your job on that singing squad there, that band. That's what I did. I just coached for about 25 or 30 years. I got quit a little early. But everybody's different. Until you're able to put out what you want to do, you're never going to be a success. I don't believe you could just leave a guy open. Hell, I've left guys open and scared them to death. You got guys on your team, if they get the ball, you hide your eyes, afraid he's going to shoot. Always gave him that opportunity. We played BYU in the Final Four, Final Eight, BYU, and UCLA was there. We won 112 to 102, and the guy told me I had the worst defense he ever played against. I said, yours ain't too damn good tonight. But you got Tark. He'll move in for you. He's got suing the NCAA on about 50 causes. So he's back in the saddle again. They're nervous as hell up there in Kansas. But he's a good old boy, and you're going to like him.
You know, I've seen a lot of changes in the game from when I first started going to the convention. In fact, Abe's one of the first people I met when I was coaching in junior college, and we were talking today at lunch the difference. And in those days, we used to do our scheduling at the convention, and coaches weren't making a lot of money. Everybody was, the pressures weren't great. They weren't making a lot of money. Now everybody's talking about how great the pressures are. At that time, I thought the coaching profession was very underpaid. Right now, it's way overpaid. I'm just amazed how much money coaches are making right now at the college level at some of the top programs. And, you know, with the more money you make, the more pressure there's going to be. Certainly, there's a tremendous amount of pressure now to be successful, and I think that's due to television. That's due to the fact that your athletic directors all have to balance the budget. The game itself, I think, I've seen a change in the 3 years that I've been out. I'm just amazed how many teams now are substituting. Every time the whistle blows, 3 new guys are going in the game. And, you know, Dean used to do that all the time, but Dean was sending 3 high school All-Americans in the game. You know, I see a lot of guys sending guys in who can't even play. Every time the whistle blows, there's 3 guys going in the game. And I've never said that. That's something that really surprised me, because today Louie and Abe and I were talking at lunch, and Louie was talking about how his philosophy, and Joe Lapchick's, was that you play 8 guys. And I remember about a year ago, John Wooden was at Caesar's Palace, and he called me, and I went down and spent an hour with him. He had a speaking engagement, and we started talking, and that was the first thing that he brought up, that the difference that he had seen is the substitution patterns from the coaches. And he told me something that I really strongly believe. He said his philosophy was that you never substitute to appease somebody. And and he said he thought that that's what's being done a lot in the game right now. I think that's the biggest thing that I have noticed. Maybe it's because the last 3 years when I haven't been coaching, I'm watching games differently. It may have been going on when I was coaching. I just was so much into my own team, I wasn't aware of that. But it absolutely amazed me. And then when a team plays, it amazed me. I always talk about how our guys were tired. I don't know how in the hell you get tired when you get 2.5-minute TV timeouts. How does a guy get tired when you got a 2-minute or 2.5-minute TV timeout? And that's the biggest change that I've seen. The other thing that I don't like, and I wish somehow, and I don't know what the answer is, but somewhere the last 2 minutes they've got to eliminate the intentional fall. Everybody's just grabbing and falling, and every year we go to the officials meeting and they tell us they're going to call the intentional fall. They never call it. Maybe you have to shoot the free throw and get the ball out of bounds, but there has to be something to take away the intentional fall the last 2 minutes of the game. I don't like that at all. I like the three-point shot. I like the 35-second clock. I think they're two of the best things that have happened to basketball. I think the 35-second clock, I think from a coaching standpoint, is going to even can influence your thinking a little bit. I don't think you any longer have to go out and deny the lead past the first pass anymore. I think you basically did that to speed the game up, but I think with 35 seconds, if you just play good, solid pressure defense, the clock can help you. So I think the game has changed. I think the rules have been good. I don't know if anything's happened with the one rule. The worst rule that I can possibly imagine is that 5-second where you can dribble all day without that 5-second count.
Especially when you're palming the ball.
Whoever passed that rule, that's the most ridiculous rule that I've ever. How can that be good for basketball when you got a guy holding your dribbling the ball for 30 seconds? George, you're on the rules committee. I wish you can do something about that.
He's the chairman.
The first question from the audience will be directed at Coach McGuire, and it's an intriguing question that I'm sure that Coach McGuire will have an answer for. It says, Coach McGuire, I have a 6'8" junior who can be a good player. However, his father wants to help me coach him. What should I do?
Leave home.
I would first run to Dun & Bradstreet and the father, see how much he's worth. I think that you run your club your own way, but you got to remember that a father is a father. I mean, my son played for me at Marquette in the early 70s, the baby Byrne years, upheaval on the campus, Ben Franklin glasses, guys walking around hand grenades. George doesn't remember that. All he remembers the book he did, War on the Boards. But I'll tell a quick story to relate. I would advise any of you out there with children not to coach your daughter or your son under any condition. It's beautiful for you. It's a honeymoon. But my son Alex started a great love affair with me and my son Al. But my son only visited one school, and that was Dean's School. Then he came back and ended up coming to Marquette University. But I'll tell you a story, and then we'll move on to the next question. And because the game has passed me by, I don't really know basketball. I feel basketball. I think mothball head Billy Packer knows basketball, and the other guy, Dick Vitale, he belongs in the rubber room. Quick story on Allie, then we'll move on. Allie was in about his junior year, Dean, and we were about 17-1 or 17-2 in February, and I had a great sixth man, a guy named George Sugar Fraser. He was a brother. And we put him down to Laurinburg Prep, Laurinburg Prep, and all of a sudden a new star appeared in the East. He became an Einstein after 6 months. And he came back to Marquette, and he was good. Sugar was very good. And George, he was out of the Big Apple, Metropolitan New York. He came into my office. I don't have meetings. And he was walking back and forth in front of me. And I said, Sugar, what can I do you for? He says, you know, Coach, I'm as good as your son Al is. I should be starting. So I said, Shug, sit down a second. I said, you know, I love my son Al. For you to start, you must be better than he is. He wins all ties. So in relation to the question that George asked, is that always remember a parent is like a horse that has those blinders on, and that we see our children in a special way. And that just be a little bit more patient with them, but run your own show. Drive your own bus.
Al didn't tell you, is this hooked? Al didn't tell you that one of his rules was in recruiting, after they signed, he told the parents he'd see them in 4 years.
Yeah. And you know, the parents thought I was kidding. I would tell the parents, because I always laugh, and I always try to keep life on a roll. I'd like to try to live in the moment and stretch it out, even to this day. And get on my motorbike and look for my toy soldiers and so on and so forth. But I used to say 2 things when I recruited. One thing I would say to the parents, this is the last time you'll see me smile. And I'd laugh, and they'd laugh. They thought I was kidding them. And then I would say to the ball player I was recruiting, whether it be Maurice Lucas or Dean the Dream or Jimmy Shones, the original aircraft carrier, Butch Lee. I never knew Butch was a Puerto Rican. And I didn't, till he almost beat you in Montreal. He scored 34, 35 points in 76 up in Montreal. You and John Thompson over there as your assistant coach, he screwed you up, right? And no, they won the gold. They won the gold. And but I always would say to the ball players, I was leaving the flat or the apartment or the house, I'd say, you know, son, I came a long way. I want you to come, that's why I'm here. But if you don't come to Marquette, wherever you go, we'll beat you. I like that. That's a long way from father. Go on to the next question.
I'll add a footnote to that. A number of years ago when I was coaching at Washington State, Lenny Wilkins called me and said he was going to send his son over to our basketball camp. And so I said to Lenny, Lenny, is Randy any good? And I'll never forget Lenny's response. He said, George, never ask a parent to evaluate their child because they have no objectivity. And I think that that's in Al's situation, what Al's saying, I believe that parents are not going to be objective when it comes to their children. And as coaches, you shouldn't expect them to be objective. The next question is for Coach Tarkanian. It says, what are your ideas, suggestions for the great practice player, but the player that chokes or turns in subpar game performances? That's an intriguing...
That's a tough question. First of all, I think if a guy practices well, eventually he's going to play well. Now, he may have some bad games, and it might take a little longer, but all you can do is keep having him practice well and keep talking to him and, trying to build his confidence. But I really believe that if he practices well, that eventually he's going to break through that, and he's going to have the big game, and it'll continue. There's no other way of doing it than just keeping them practicing well.
I'm going to ask Coach Lemons to handle the second aspect of this question. Do you use a sports psychiatrist with your players, Coach Lemons?
I use one for myself. Thing about those players, they get out and graduate, but hell, you got to live. Take care of yourself first, look after them little rascals later. If you don't like parents, recruit orphans.
Baby, Abe.
I got to write that one down. Coach Lemons, the next question is also for you. What is the best way to develop a post player?
Hell, get rid of them and get a good one.
Could you give us an example on how to do that, Coach?
Well, he was named Leroy Jones. If you want to. You don't change people. I'm telling you, work on those rascals. If they're lazy in practice, you can bet what the hell they're going to do in a game. You're going to make everybody mad playing a lazy guy in a game. I don't like to substitute. I had to substitute once because one of the players died. You got those assistant coaches sitting to you and they say, Kreback's playing bad. He needs to come out. I said, who's going in to do what he could do? And he said, well, let's forget it. So that's the way I just handle the problem. Everybody, discipline is, just don't, just play like it's not there. I had a player coaching down at Converse Junior, down at San Antonio. He left a message on my tape recorder, and I called him back, and the question was, what do I do with the boxing one? I said, hell, ignore it. Because he's in a playoff, what the hell are you going to do? You do like Al, you cover for boxing one, he's in a triangle and two. You start worrying about all that stuff, just ignore it, it'll go away. Might be a little late. But you can't beat good players. Good players are fine. And, you know, if they can shoot, let them shoot. I talked to a guy, he's eating up with these numbers, number 2 man, number 3 man, small forward. Hell, they couldn't get one in the pros till they got a small guy. They called it small forward, which is obvious. I said, can a small forward be a power forward? No, you can't do that. I said, why the hell not? You call him if you want to, do anything you want to. And I said, another thing, you got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. I said, what if I didn't have a 4? Had 2 5s. Who in the hell would your 4-man guard? And he says, you got to have a 4. You don't have to have a 4. But you get eaten up with all this stuff, the 4-man. I recruited a great 4-man. I'd like to go around and offer suggestions, like John Thompson stands up on times, put ads on the back of him. You know, put Hertz rent-a-car. Got a wide screen. How'd you like to have a seat right behind Georgetown? And paid $40 for it, and all you see is John's coattail. Those are things that's a problem.
Okay, the next one's for Coach. You're tough following Abe, Coach. For Coach Dean Smith, it says, how, after signing a player, do you deal so well with the high egos of young players, and how should we as high school coaches deal with them if they are the difference between winning and losing?
I actually, in some of my clinics, I think I may have, or in that book, a couple of guys I've written some time ago, you know, where you peer pressure, you punish somebody by the guys run for the guy that messed up. And one coach said, well, Joe over here, he doesn't care about his teammates, and he's the best player we got, and it doesn't bother him at all. They're running for him. And I kind of wonder whether you'd be better off without Joe, but maybe I haven't heard from him, so he's probably fired. But really, I do think the ego's the same, except there's high school, the best high school players generally, you go through the pros, a lot of them went up the hard way. Jerry laughed about high school All-Americans, and this year we were better. We had 3 walk-ons coming on, and they were better than high school All-Americans. I don't think you can go by high school All-Americans, but I do think they come in with, I know a favorite coach of mine that calls them either McDonald All-Americans. He doesn't want too many hamburgers because they come in with such a big ego, but it's quickly ended at our place. We just let them, the first day of practice, we had a highly recruiting group at 91, and we just had them play the varsity, and in front of all the high school, we had several thousand coaches there, you know, high school coaching clinic we have every fall, and they were behind 52 in a 20-minute scrimmage, so I call it a 104-point defeat. But this, you know, Montross, Rozier, guys you've heard of, Phelps, Reese, and all of a sudden, the ego isn't that big. And I think you have to tear them down and build them up. But we have been fortunate to have some great ones, and they all, as freshmen, they chase loose balls. They, you know, we yell freshmen, they go fight because they get out of sprints as they get there. So if I had a guy I couldn't handle in high school, you know, I don't know whether you're better off without him. But that's easy for me to say. But I question that.
Okay, the next question is addressed to all the coaches, so what I'll try to do is just pick the coaches in a random manner. And the question is, could you please name the coach or coaches who've most influenced you in your coaching development? And we'll ask Coach Carnesecca to lead off.
Well, of course, I had two of them, Coach Frank McGuire and Coach Slapchick. There's no doubt about that.
Coach Smith?
Certainly, Dr. Fogg Allen, my college coach, and Dick Harp, his assistant, were very meaningful. And then I assisted Coach Bob Spear at the Air Force Academy, one of the great teachers I think I've ever known, and one of the great bench coaches. And he coached these two guys. I admire him, Frank McGuire. He puts up with these two. But Coach Frank McGuire, whom I assisted for 3 years at North Carolina. And then I'd add Mr. Henry Iba. Has been a good friend and helpful. And his last couple of years, he'd come back and watch our team, and I really enjoyed being with him.
Coach Tarkanian?
I'd say probably the guy who influenced me the most was a football coach at Fresno State when I was going to school there. I worked in his office, and I just learned so much about handling people and the emotional aspect of the game. And that was Clark Van Gelder. And probably the second guy that was a guy to coach in junior college when I did Jim Killingsworth, who later went on to TCU and Oklahoma State. Jim and I were very, very close, and we would spend countless hours just going over basketball, talking basketball. I never had the fortune of playing at a big-time school or for a big-time coach, so I never had that experience. So my experiences were basically from people that I coached with and coached against. And one of the guys who I really and truly admired, that I really learned a lot just playing against him, was Boyd Grant when he coached at Fresno State. I had the greatest respect for the job that Boyd Grant did.
Coach Abe Lemons?
What was the question?
Indian coach, an Indian coach.
I'm the world's greatest Indian coach. There's no doubt about that. They're the only ones I ever played for. But I guess a guy named Doyle Parrick, I played for him. First time I ever learned the fundamentals, what a pivot was, how to release the ball, how to make the pass, and something about that wasn't a football coach that got through coaching football. He came out to coach basketball. He made the biggest impression and hired me when I was a senior to be a assistant coach, and he let me handle the offense. And I could run anything I wanted to, and he'd try to guard it. And a lot of times he did, a lot of times he didn't. But I enjoyed the offensive aspect of it. I'd talk it. But if I went to a coach's clinic, I'd have to put out deals like, I'd say something inadvertently, like I got this Crevax kid, can't go any place but right. Season starts, and he says, Coach, they're playing me way over to the right. I said, yes, at least I got you going left. I said, if they play you heads up, you ain't going anywhere. So he'd get over, reverse dribble, and come back. I enjoy that part but the problem now is everybody's wanting to get in the act, want to be a pro, and they don't want you messing with their game. So you have to get decent players. There's not such a thing as a Mickey Mouse coach. If you're coaching, you got a hell of a job. And don't be afraid to do something that's out of context if you're going to win at it. Don't be afraid to break in and get something you can do, and pay attention because somebody might use something that another guy will use, and you know how to beat it. So, but coaching on the floor is fun. It's that outside stuff that just kills you. So,
Tell me what you learned from the track coach.
Oh yeah, everybody knows that. I got fired by a track coach. And if you're going to coach a game, track would be the deal. All you got to do is line them up, tell them get to your left and get back as soon as you can. I'm not much at holding grudges. When I left Texas, I told them to notice a mistletoe tied on my coattail. I got a glass-bottom truck so I see their face when I run over them. I'm working on another deal for them right now, but it hasn't come out yet. Basketball, you got to have some lightheartedness someplace. You can't make it if you're serious every day. That damn kids will drive you crazy. I looked what Al did. He solves a problem without causing any other problem. Another time I went down to New Orleans to watch him practice. They're practicing, the guy gets hurt. Al said, I'll take your place. They said, that's all, we're not playing with you anymore, Al. He wins it all that year. So it's funny how you get different people get different things out of different ways. And to handle your personal problem without it getting out in public. Everybody has problems with people. If you can keep it inside, and once they be like, every day give the guy the same break. And I got a million things to keep a guy in school. And you got to do your best to do that. I know they're student athletes. Used to, they were just athletes. Where it all got bad when the Vietnam War quit. Hell, everybody quit going to school. As long as that was on, they had a place to go if they flunked out. But the game hasn't really changed. People have changed.
Okay, Nate says, Coach McGuire, in case you forgot the question, the question was, what coaches influenced your philosophy of basketball?
I go along with Coach Lou and Dean. I played for Coach Frank McGuire. What he taught me is the Nick Romano, knock on any door, live fast, die young, had a good-looking corpse. It was a movie. And that is that you form your group, and you make 5 or 6 people one. And that almost to a point where one of Coach McGuire's biggest liabilities was his loyalty. You got to accept people. If you accept them, you must accept them on Saturday night when they're dressed like Astor's pet pony, but you also got to accept them on Monday morning when they got curlers in their hair and the runs. So he taught me that. And the other coach I respect is Dean Smith. And the reason I respect him, I'm not trying to stroke him, I know I'm embarrassing him saying that, is that he has stood the test of time. I'm named after the governor of New York State, Al Smith. He was the first Catholic they ran for president and got the ball to the 50-yard line, then JFK got it over the goal line. But he always said, show me the record. And for anybody to have done what this guy has done to the left of me for the last 31, 32 years, I mean, every year and every dart and every crack in his arm was looked at. So he's one of the guys I admire. And that's about it.
Unfortunately, sessions like this should go on for a longer period, but we are up against a time frame. And so we're going to ask the coaches to weave themselves through a final statement that could start off, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? And we'll start at the far end with Tarkanian.
I had to do all over again. You got another chance.
He'd throw hair, that's what he'd do.
You know what seriously, mine's easy. What I'd have done is I'd have just let the NC2A hit me over the head with a hammer and told them they were great guys and thanked them for it, and maybe they'd have gone away 20-some years ago. That would have probably been the easiest thing for me.
Abe?
What's the question?
If you had to do it all over again, what would you do, son?
Well, I'd try to look after my finances a little better. To tell you the truth, I never thought about getting old till it happened. And then those things, just pretty soon, you just hear them damn balls bouncing, 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 bouncing. About 12 of them out there. All of them wanting to play. But it's no better job. It's the best job and the worst job there is. And see, it doesn't embarrass me that somebody else is better than I am. I just won't play them. I don't care how good Dean is. I never did have to play him, so I never did get ready for him. I got ready for Hardin Simmons. But I do the same thing. There's not a hell of a lot you could change. I'd have made one more better substitute and had 600 wins. Are you with us, Lou?
No, I'm waiting to make. If I had to do it all again, I probably wouldn't want to lose. Okay. And let me tell you what, sometimes you're going to lose. And whether we like it or not. And I had a team once, I think you might have seen it again, it was on national TV. We went 18 minutes without a score, okay? By accident. Nobody even fouled us. We were so bad, so help me God, that our fans were such in a state of shock they couldn't even boo us. So we finished that ball game, we go up and play Providence, we go 12 minutes without a score. Finish that ball game, go down and play Seton Hall, we went 8 minutes without a score. We were building up an immunity, okay? And then my friend said, well, you're too tough, you're too tight on them, why don't you loosen up? So I did. I started playing music before practice, during practice, even after practice. That didn't help. I even had shirts made up. The gang that couldn't shoot straight. No matter what I did, nothing worked. You know what finally helped and what really did work? Graduation. I get that.
Actually, there's not enough time to go through that, and also I really, in all seriousness, I believe in accepting the things you cannot change and change the things you can, as Reinhold Niebuhr's prayer once said, and I think that's so important in athletics. This year we lost to Virginia, and I had to go into D.C. right after the game instead of going back on the plane, and I didn't get us a good shot in the last 30 seconds, and I ruined 2 hours of my life. I am one to blame myself if we lose. I don't blame Johnny. Alan, I know a coach that used to get on his radio show long ago, and if they lost a game, and he said, well, if old Jimmy had done what I told him, we wouldn't have lost that game. And I am one that I do say, I wish I'd done this or that, and then I really trying very hard to, I can't change that and to move forward. You can learn from the experience, and I think we as coaches must and always remember the most important thing, forget records and everything, is those relationships with the players, and it's fun, as I told you earlier, when they come back and say, Coach, I remember you're tough on me, but it really helped me. I think those are important things.
Pretty much what I did. I congratulate the temporary. That means a certain amount of pain is happiness, and bare feet in wet grass and flower on the side of the hill. Congratulate the temporary means live in the moment. If I could change any one of you out there and have the run again, I would change. Live in the moment. Enjoy it. Touch your ball players and look them in the eye and just live in the moment, which I did. So I've grown accustomed to the face of basketball. It makes the day begin. That's about it.
Okay, Ed's going to be mad at me, but we're going to run down real quick and just get a closing statement from everybody. Anything you want to say?
Yeah.
Hey,
Tart, go ahead.
Anything I want to say. Let's hope all of you guys go undefeated this year, but more important, let's hope I go undefeated.
All I can say, it's hard to win. It's really hard no matter what league you're in. The toughest league's the one you're in. I know you should be worried about UCLA if you don't play them. But it's hard to win, no matter whether you're A class, B class, or C class. It's just difficult to stay on the winning side. And the longer you stay on the winning side, the more apt you are to keep your job, by the way, just like it is in anything else. But that's all. If you go to a clinic, maybe you're not going to use that stuff, but somebody might use it against you. Like I always used to follow Carnesecca up, and he'd run a trap. Corner him, get him over here in the corner. And I tell my guys, don't go in the corner because he'd trap you there. Now how you go about doing that is fine, but that's something you need to work on because he might trap you, and there you go to that corner. Then you got to show them how to get out of it since they're going to do it. So that's all coaching is to get them to do what you want them to do. And I think can't all of you be success. You got to play each other and get beat some. You can't. Everybody in here ain't going to win all their games next year if you're all from California. But it's something. Once you coach, it hooks you for life. And years after, I think we ought to take up a collection for Dick Vitale to move to Australia.
Louie?
I think it's right here. Where else on a Friday night, you get 1,000, 1,500 people here talking about basketball. They'll never lose that spirit. You know, it's the greatest game there is.
Basically, our teams have not played Coach Lemons' teams, and I have the other three, but I really think you should be a treat. We should bring back some of those Oklahoma City tapes. They were loose, and that's part of coaching. I mean, they're supposed to, certain guys could shoot, and he'd tell others, you can't shoot, you know, get it off the rebound. But a great coach, and he did it differently than somebody else. But as you can see, they had some fun. But certainly, the only thing I would say, and I said this to our national coaches a long time ago, if you win a game, for guys' sakes, if you're talking to your local paper, you know, brag on the other coach any way you can. I mean, his job's tough enough if he lost. You don't say, well, I went to that zone, that sure killed him, didn't it? You know, you know, let's have respect for each other in our professions and build up the profession and build up the other coach in your league that you may not even like, but it doesn't hurt you if you're winning particularly.
You get beat, just tell me
Al?
better gym.
Al?
Just be who you are. Enjoy it. Again, just enjoy it. It's a beautiful run life. Absolutely beautiful. Enjoy it. Just do it. Get it done. Enjoy it.
Al McGuire, Dean Smith, Louie Carnesecca, Abe Lemons, Jerry Tarkanian. Innovators, leaders, wonderful human beings. Let's all stand and show them how much we appreciate them.
Nice, all right, guys.